Well, Kyle.
Yes, Garrett.
Meanwhile.
Stay a weapon. Is it really meanwhile though? How long we were asleep? How long?
Kyle, the game told us don't think about it too much. It didn't say simultaneously.
But if I take it really seriously, the meanwhile, the Zenos Eledibus fight took about what, like half a week? Because it was meanwhile back then when they met, and then it was meanwhile when we finished the game.
There's no newspapers with dates. There's no clocks on the wall. And again, it said meanwhile, not simultaneously.
Fair enough.
Don't think about it too much. Don't bait comments below so we get everyone's headcanon on what time of day, season of the year.
But how old is Va3?
I am going to leave this video if you start this.
Okay. All right. But I do like these. I do like meanwhiles. I'm a big fan of old James Bond movies where we would go visit the villain for a little bit. I mean, naturally, these happen in tons of movies, but I'm not somebody who exclusively requires second-person, first-person storytelling. More than happy to jump over and visit a little story bit.
No, it's special in God of War until Ragnarok when it isn't.
Oh, the never-breaking camera thing? Yeah.
I don't need it. I don't need it in everything. No. I don't need it in absolutely every damn thing I do. I like it sometimes, and other. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. Yeah, I'm not against this by any means. I caution to say I would like some gameplay elements here. I don't cop to the solo duties. I don't like solo duties, Kyle, for the most part.
I see their usefulness in like training exercises to get you ready for the game. In particular, the role quests had actually kind of challenging ones. Whether you like them or not is a whole nother story, but I, of course, would have loved to control Estinien running down hall or Zenos versus Eledibus, but it would have broken the Scion feel we have with those exchanges. We've also played as Y'shtola.
She got a cool sparkly animation from Final Fantasy X. So that's a solo duty I think back on rather fondly because it had the drama. It had the shiny. It was visually interesting. Most solo duties, I would argue, aren't. Hot take, maybe. I don't know. Are people really in love with solo duties?
Are they? Are you?
I'm about to find out. But first, did you know we stream right here on this very YouTube channel? Well, this video is the last video we're putting out that's a narrative dive into Shadowbringers 5.0. We're past it. So if you're watching this the week it comes out, join us this Thursday because we're going to be moving on in the MSQ beginning with patch 5.1. So join us live for that right here on the Grinding Gear YouTube channel.
We finished our big Shadowbringers playthrough, all of our videos, but we really haven't touched on the meanwhile in Garlemolds because they're meanwhile, and they're kind of off topic for what we're doing on the first.
Choose your modifier here. Choose your descriptor here. Off topic, whatever. Off topic doesn't mean it's not important. It is important, and I think it's about to be on topic. I think it's about to be very, very on topic. If anything, like to me, going through before we got to the end of this, it just kind of felt like it's time to check in with our Stormblood buddies that aren't Lys, I guess. Is there a lot of Lys hate when Stormblood was current? Is that why we're not seeing Lys? Because to my knowledge, the Lys hate was post Stormblood when Final Fantasy started getting picked up by bigger Twitch streamers.
I highly doubt the devs were actually influenced by any Lys hate. I mean, that's like saying everybody hated Rabon. Who hates Rabon? Nobody hates Rabon.
No,
we don't see him in this.
I will say, though, I am glad to have a break from Nanamo, finally. I do wish it was at getting more Merweb in my life, because there's still, like, no Merweb at all. I don't know why the writers of this game seem to not like Merweb, but she just not given much to do. But overall, I liked these scenes. I thought it was a little weird that some were voice acted and others weren't. Every single one of these scenes seems fairly important. And because that some are voice acted, like there's nothing to cover up. Like there's nothing to keep a mystery by not voicing acting them. Like when we had the Exarch Echo we weren't supposed to know it was the Exarch. It was part of the mystery. So it's
Right.
like, I thought that was intentionally not voice acted, because if we brought in the Exarch's voice actor and had them do the voice, it would have given away the goose pretty damn quickly if you're keen on picking up and recognizing voices. But here it's like we have an entire scene just between Varis and Eledibus riding Zenos that's not voice acted. But we have other scenes with those exact two characters in that exact setting, and they are voice acted. So I have no idea. I wonder if it was like, oh, we're gonna add this in here, and we can't get the voice actors. Let's just make it text. I have no idea.
There is one question mark in there, which is the Centurion, but no real question about who that is. And when they speak in other scenes, it's clearly Zenos. You know, some of this is suspend your disbelief, right? Like, Zenos proper is writing Garlean soldier and is like, my father wouldn't recognize. Really? Like, the voice is right there, right? But
that bothers me. By the way, that it's minor, but that does annoy me. Why is Zenos possessing someone else's body sound like Zenos, but Eledibus possessing Zenos also just sounds like Zenos?
Well, because Zenos has a great voice.
Listen, I'm not. The complaint is not more Zenos. I would love more Zenos. Please keep giving me Zenos. The complaint is inconsistency.
Well, and then we have so few Eledibus voice-acted scenes.
His might encroaches upon the realm of gods.
Almost all of them are Reedies.
Also strange, because it's freaking Eledibus. We have a voice actor.
We can make up ideas about production woes, but I'm not going to read into the team like that. Maybe there was something they were exploring, and so they changed the scene later on. Who knows? This is what we got. This is what we have to work with. What we are, of course, dealing with in all of these scenes is the ongoing Gaius, Estinien, Zenos, Eledibus, Varis, and Black Rose plots, which are now very much free of Emmett Selk. And Emmett Selk, now 5.0 dead, likely doesn't have much influence over the continuing scene, though I do think it's really cute, and I just want to point everybody to it, that Hades has a big spike on its head, and for some reason, Varis has a big spike on his chest. So, you know, father like son, or grandfather like son.
Maybe.
They like spikes. Family resemblance. I don't... Hey, my biggest hole in all this is, whoa, who was dad? Why did we go from grandpa to grandson? Where's dad? Who's dad?
Huh. Thought hadn't crossed my mind. It's this cast of characters that these meanwhiles all play with. And to me, it kind of begins with Gaius. Even though for the most part, I think in my head, this is filed away as Meanwhile in Garlemald. It's not always in Garlemald.
We're aware that Zenos' grave is empty and something's going on with his body and perhaps his spirit. But Gaius Shadowhunter meeting us towards the end of Stormblood is really our foot in the door to the Black Rose Garlemald plot while we're on the first.
Yeah, more or less. Or like the threat of Black Rose, because it still hasn't been used. At least not in a large fashion the way we were fearful it was going to be used. They're like dropping it on the equivalent of Ewok villages. Like,
it was, experimented with, used sparingly. And, of course, one of my favorite things about Gaius is he finds it completely against his moral code. He does not want this unjust weapon used at all. And while he still refers to your radiance and respects his emperor, he is concerned about the state of Garlemald going forward.
Gaius is a really layered character. I mean, most characters in Final Fantasy XIV are, but like Gaius, particularly for me, really stands out because when we first meet him in Realm Reborn, he's like the Darth Vader of A Realm Reborn, essentially.
Yes, he is. 100%.
Actually, like really is especially with the old voice actor and the voice modulator they gave him. He's just so kind of just, this is the bad guy you must defeat.
It's worth mentioning, like, of all the things in the game outside of Varys' model needing updating, the transition from old Gaius to Game of Thrones Gaius is very, very different. Like, we're not even dealing with a voice modulator. We're dealing with, like, a whole personality shift.
Well, it doesn't have the mask on, looks gruff and tumble as opposed to pristine and leading a military. But I think enough time goes by. It worked for me. I thought that was, it's one of my favorite reveals to date is that that's Gaius, and this is what Gaius is up to. And in my head, I just go, oh, cool. Gaius is a good guy now. But when we get to the end of this whole trajectory, you realize that the Gaius still harbors a lot of loyalty for his country, his homeland, and his emperor, like you pointed out. Like he's not black and white.
Sometimes he's gold.
Oh my God.
No! No! Yeah!
No, I think of meeting Gaius out in the burn as the beginning of this entire side arc in Shadowbringers, even though that started in Stormblood. Kind of kicks this whole thing off, and eventually Gaius ends up hanging out with Estinien. Of everyone we're going to talk about today, Estinien is the character I probably want more of. And this is the game giving me a little tiny bit more of Estinien. This is the type of thing where I put on my fandom hat, because you just have like the two coolest kids in school finally deciding to hang out and be friends. Or I say finally, we didn't know Gaius was back for that long, for this to feel like it was a long wait. But when they finally get together, I mean, it's your dynamic duo. It's like, ooh, Goku's hanging out with Vegeta. They're going to be friends. It's one of those for me. These are just, I think there's a reason we don't have that many scenes with them, because it'd just be an exercise in two rough and tumble dudes being rough and tumble together.
There's always a threat, too, that you end up making a better story than what your character's on. So probably to keep it light is the right choice. So we're not going, about the first. Anyway, can I get back to the cool guy club?
I want a side game of just this. I want a solo released non-MMO Final Fantasy side game about I would take either Gaius or Estinien, but if I was to go into Square Enix office right now and said, all right, give us your best idea for a game and we'll make it, it would be, listen, y'all have Devil May Cry blood coursing through the veins of the next Final Fantasy game that's about to drop, and you are no stranger to making standalone games that fill out other corners of your pre-existing, mega numbered Final Fantasy releases. We've got Dirge of Cerberus. We've got, what's the other one? I don't play Final Fantasy VII games, or at least I haven't yet. Crisis Core. Crisis Core is out. They did The Stranger of Paradise, which I believe is a Team Ninja game, so it's kind of a little bit what I'm thinking of. But I also think outside of the realm of Final Fantasy games, I think of Metal Gear Rising. Boy, it would be really cool to have like an action-based game set in the world of Final Fantasy XIV. And so what I'm trying to say is I would buy Final Fantasy XIV : Estinien's Legacy or whatever immediately. That would just be money that no longer belonged to me.
No Legacy. No revolutions. Right? I would call it Estinien : Black Rose. So there was one plot point here I was very curious about, and that was, how did Estinien go from walking with flowers, and I didn't really know who the flowers were for, to brand new set of armor, running through the Garlemald-like facilities where he meets shadow hunters.
Oh, you're right, he was walking with flowers. I haven't thought about that since I saw it.
Yeah, I thought it was like a Harshaphon thing. It was at the very end of Heavensward, so, it was kind of in that space. This is actually addressed in one of the online stories on the Lodestone. So those flowers that Estinien has are for the dragons. He's basically apologizing for the bloodshed that he as a dragoon subjected the dragon peoples to. And while doing so, while apologizing at the graves of the dragons, Hraesvelgr sees him do it. And Hraesvelgr's like, I got some sweet loot for a cool guy like you, and gives him the blue set.
So they World of Warcraft me.
It is short. What you miss is the money grubbingness of selling the book.
There's plenty of side stories that you don't pay for in World of Warcraft. There are plenty of short stories on the website. And they're extremely important to WoW lore and aren't put in the game, and it annoys me.
I would say that this is minor enough that it's okay, and they are well written. They are well written stories. Really, the one that I found upsetting was Fordola's story continued, and she just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. I wanted to know, like, in game.
Wait, there's more Fordola?
Yeah, there's more Fordola. She like teams up with Aridval. There's like a whole They buddy cop.
I don't give a crap about Arnvald, but okay.
I like Arnvald well enough.
I don't.
He's cute.
There are too many awesome characters in this game, and Arnvald isn't one of them.
Fair. On the tier list, yes, Arnvald is like a C tier. He's pretty low in there. Yeah, that's true.
Just not that important. Fordola is really interesting, though. So that bums me out because I was hoping we would revisit Fordola, but if we're getting side stories written elsewhere, that doesn't bode well.
This is very minor, but I wanted to know how Estinien got involved in the first place with his blue armor. Another story on the Lodestone gets into how he ended up even becoming involved in the Black Rose plot.
And they mentioned that in game.
Yeah, it's more of an expansion on the idea. He ended up in Kugane, he ran out of money, Kryl and Tataru tricked him into conscripting him into their service because they pretended they had bad info on him, some rumors.
Okay, that's the exact kind of thing I'm perfectly fine being a side story.
Because it's complete filler to a throwaway kind of sentence he did where he was like,
I swear the receptionist was trained as a spy. Not that anyone can escape that Baldessian woman once she has caught the scent of your ether.
You instantly know who Estinien is talking about in game when he mentions their receptionist. And you're just like, because receptionist has such a very normie connotation for us here in the West. I don't know. Maybe receptionists are frequently
more badass, maybe. Yeah,
more badass in Japanese culture. I have no idea. But
there are a lot of animes about butlers, so maybe
that's fair. You're not wrong. You're really not wrong. But Tataru is so much more than that. So to have a character with the cool factor of Estinien speak of Tataru in that way, it was a little moment that I really, really enjoyed. I kind of just assumed, and maybe this is a point in Side Story's favor, that just the journey he's been on has made him more amenable to working alongside others. Because when we first start with him, he's such a grump.
Oh, of course. And he's a vessel of revenge. His armor becomes covered in dragon blood. And there's a whole... The plot of Estinien is extremely revenge heavy, and it's a very enjoyable character type. You got John Wick's, so many, where you are outside of your prime, but you have these amazing killing skills. What are you going to do with them? And Estinien joins forces with Shadowhunter in that moment in order to find Black Rose.
Yeah, which I love Alphino, but bit of an upgrade in terms of...
companion
killing prowess. I was going to say killing prowess specifically, but I digress. Yeah, everything with Estinien here is great. Absolute glow up, much along the lines of Orion J. I guess technically Estinien got his glow up before Orion J because we do see him in Stormblood, albeit briefly.
Yeah, he's in bed there with his extra long neck on display.
Oh no, that's the end of Heaven's Ward.
Oh, excuse me. Yes,
Stormblood. He shows up and nukes the cannon.
Correct. Estinien finds out about Shinryu and thinks, oh my god, evil dragon, that's totally my biz, and goes hunting there, ending up eventually in Kugane. Of course, Shinryu wasn't actually a dragon, so that thread left him alone and ready to take on another task. Not technically alone, he pals around like a baby dragon in the story kind of thing, but you alone enough. The baby dragon isn't a big plot point in our meanwhile at Garlemald's.
I can't decide if Varis or Eledibus were sidelined harder. I think they were basically stuck in the same room where very little development happens. And I think both these characters are just it felt like they just got put on pause in Shadowbringers. We checked back in with Varis, which for us as players of the game, the last time we saw him was on the front in Stormblood after crazy meeting. Well, I guess technically the last time we saw him was the weird
face thing where he went and was all evil. That was the weird.
I'm starting to think that it's just a piece of dramatic theater, kind of like when anime goes weirdly wacky, cartoony. That is just something that is just not frequent in Western media. Because Zenos does the same thing at the end of all of this. Zenos does the same thing. It does the creepy black and white posterized effect when he's right before he kills his dad.
I would say that's closer to the effect we had on us when we killed Gigapope.
It's all the same effect.
Yeah, it's very much that same look, and I'm not prepared to be like, oh my god, Zenos is a fractured being and one of the Asians of the 14 because he had that effect on him. When we originally reviewed Varys's Out of the Darkness, I was like, is he an Ascian? Can you ascend to Asciandom? Is he like embracing evil and gonna unlock a Zodiarch power or something? It appears that that is not the case anymore, and I don't really need to bark up that tree, perhaps, because, well, he's dead now.
I think it's just a stylistic choice.
Yeah, it's dramatic, right?
Yeah.
It's a very dramatic thing.
It's the vibe I'm getting from it. If there's a name for that motif, I have no idea what it is. Yeah, and so I guess this technically all begins at the end of Stormblood. What I'm talking about is like, as far as we, the player, are concerned, Varis and Eledibus never leave the throne room again. Because at the very end of Stormblood, before you start Shadowbringers, Varis returns to Garlemald. Eledibus seems annoyed by this fact. And Varis, it seems to be very personal for Varis. He no longer seems to be marching strictly to the Ascian's drum, because he's shown back up because he's pissed that all these very true rumors about Zenos being possessed by a quote-unquote demon are running amok freely in Garlemald.
And if Gaius got played by Laha Brea of all people, Varis is pissed because he's been getting played for years by Emmett Selk. And Emmett Selk's a bit more stylish about it. In fact, Varis even has the line in one of our Reedy scenes that everything I've done ended up being his plan. I thought it was my plan in the end. Eledibus returns from the front to inform Varis that he's quelched the various rumor mongers who have been spreading that he's possessed by a demon. And in saying so, he says, which, least you forget, is essential to the realization of both our objectives. Eledibus is playing him too. You know, oh, good, Varis, play along. You'll get what you want to be rejoined and fight all the Ascians, when we full know now that everyone who gets rejoined is going to be sacrificed to bring back people from Zodiarch. So that's never going to happen. So he's still getting played.
He is, but that I still take that as a little different, because that one happens essentially in the final scene, right? That's like right before Zenos barges in the door. And so Eledibus has had some time now with, oh no, he has his own thoughts, Varis. And so it might be trying a different tactic to be like, no, it's both our goals are aligned, as opposed to trying to pull an Emmett and make him think it's his idea. So that's kind of how I read all of that. And boy, yeah, I am so curious where they're going with Eledibus as we move past 5.0, because to me, he's better than La Brea, but he's no Emmett Selk. And especially in these meanwhiles, Eledibus has just been, well, all he's been doing is just parading around, pretending to be Zenos, exchanging words with Varis. It seems like he hasn't accomplished much.
The weirdest part about Eledibus in all these scenes is just how Zenos-like he's acting. And is that the influence of the body, but the spirit's gone. Zenos proper, riding Garlean and Alamegan soldiers, still has the echo. So it's not like there's residual Zenos inside that body. Why is Eledibus so committed to this role? He's a little mustache twirly, always has been, but he's really playing the role of Zenos here.
The whole Eledibus possessing Zenos thing feels underutilized to me. What could have been the more interesting arcs, and they barely do anything with it. Because we go from Eledibus piloting Zenos full on like Laha Brea trying to murder us on a battlefield, whereas the previous Eledibus we knew wasn't like that. And then he goes right back to being calm, political Eledibus in the Garlean throne room. And to me, it feels uneven, and also we just barely get to even spend any time over the course of all of these short cutscenes with Eledibus possessing Zenos. We just don't do a whole lot with it. I do think, however, the most interesting part of all of this is how pissed off it makes Zenos.
I take it as we're confused because Eledibus is confused, because the Ascians don't get along. He wants to know what Emmett's plans are, but he doesn't, because Emmett works alone. He wants to complete his objective, but he can't, because he doesn't know what all the other Ascians, some of which are being destroyed by Shadowhunter out there, are up to. So he's doing his best as mediator, balance man, and the balance is in favor of good now, so he's gone evil. And who knows, maybe he is literally balanced, like he embodies it, and anytime the scales tip, he becomes more evil or more good. Like a bunch of evil happened, he's like, whoa, let's save let's go save a Knuckle-Eye. Let's go over there and do that real quick. All balanced again. Back to mustache twirling. We did get to see Eledibus's mask, though, which kind of looked like a bunch of warrior symbols and like buzzsaws. Kind of a weird mask, but hey, it was neat to see the other paragon of the Source whip it out.
Zenos has been on quite a journey, and I think more than one body. When he shows up in Garlemald, it doesn't look like it's an Elysian, but it's got such an overly elaborate helmet on top. I don't know, I could be wrong.
Right, he definitely inhabits an Alamegan soldier, but this is the missing Garlean officer that Shadow Hunter brings up to Estinien when they're having their sly conversation on the street there.
That's right, I forgot about that line. So it's confirmed Zenos has been in at least 2 bodies on his way to Garlemald. At the very least,
yes.
That makes sense. I love that. I love that whole scene. It's just like I already kind of knew where things were going. Like the very first time you see Elysian Zenos, he looks at the Garlean flag. It's like, all right, I don't know exactly what he's going for in Garlemald, but I know he's going back to Garlemald. So when our heroes, Estinien and Gaia, show up there, and they're having this conversation of, ooh, who else has entered the field? I'm like, it's Zenos. And it didn't matter that I didn't recognize the body or the armor. It's like, cool. He's back. Yeah, dude's been on quite the journey. So all my little what I would say minor notes about not being super into everything that's going on with Eledibus here. I do like where it ends as this big motivating factor for Zenos to, well, just want to fight himself, I guess.
Yeah, well, reclaim his body, right? As he says, I'm not particularly fond of you all, but I'm fond of that body, and I would like it back.
Yeah, he also has another line where he's about to go fight him before we cut, and we don't see the fact that Eledibus, pieces out. He says, your secrets or that body, I don't care what you give first, or whatever. And it's like, it's a great line, but I'm also like, why was he interested in his secrets? Up until that point, hadn't really given away that he really wanted to know much of what the Ascians had going on. Because at the end of all of this, like, it seems clear to me that Zenos' one and only motivation is to find the Warrior of Light again and have a worthy fight.
Yeah, the secrets thing is interesting because we know so much more about Ascian powers than Zenos does at this turn.
It may just be that he's worried about the Ascians possibly successfully killing us before he has a chance to fight the Warrior of Light again.
It's a great thing to bring up because Eledibus is like, you've learned immortality, basically. Zenos doesn't give a crap about immortality. He just wants his own body back and to kick our ass with friendship, of course.
He's a great foil, and it's why I like him so much. When we talk with chat a lot, Zenos isn't one of the more popular characters. But to me, Zenos is a perfect foil to all of the endless scheming. There's so many characters, and many of the villainous characters in Final Fantasy XIV are the masters of schemes. Emmett, Varis, Eledibus, La Habrea is a blunt instrument, but the rest of them, they're constantly scheming, constantly trying to outmaneuver one another. They're into politics, they're into power, they're into a combination of both. And Zenos should be on their team, should be on the same page, and it would be so easy to write the prince that wants to please his father and is ultra patriotic, right? It'd be so easy to write that character. And instead, Zenos is just ultra selfish, ultra self-absorbed, ultra tunnel visioned on just what he wants. Like, in a way, a lot of people are like, Gary, you like him because he's the Arthas of Final Fantasy XIV. No, he's the Joker. Like, he doesn't give a shit. Like, he's entirely in on his own desires. He doesn't care about anything else. And it's not that he's an anarchist, but it is gonna, if he continues on this path, at least that's going to be the end stop for Garlemald, will be anarchy. Because at the end of this, we don't know what's going to happen between Gaius and Zenos. I don't like Gaius's chances, but Emperor's dead, and the next dude in line killed him and has no interest in ruling.
It would be a cheap death. We see this sort of thing all the time where, oh no, you defeated and then another big bad, right? And if we had son acting like father, what a waste of time. And I absolutely love the combat sexual that Zenos is. I think it's a very, very fun plot point. I think it's very, very fun to compare yourself to your enemy, to have your Ash and your Gary always trying to one-up another. But we do see a lot of Zenos hate, and I wonder how much of that is in our future. How much of that has to do with this background plot? Like, do people feel like Final Fantasy is something that does resolve itself outside of violence, perhaps? And maybe Zenos embodying this need to fight, something we enjoy in our video games, doesn't match up with a lot of people's expectations of how Final Fantasy XIV runs its villains. I can also see, if you didn't like Zenos proper in Stormblood, this could be a string-on for you. To me, it's a tantalizing dangle. And I love the hunt. I love this completely made-up idea that Zenos has of sport when it comes to the most dangerous game. That old plot point. It's one I've always enjoyed.
But it also like manifests as an honor code, because it's why he kills Varis, because he doesn't want him using his like honorless weaponry. Like he doesn't want Black Rose accidentally being successful in killing the Warrior of Light.
I will not have my prey stolen by your petty wars and cowardly weapons.
I freaking love it. Probably extra points because I'm not as into Black Rose as everyone else seems to be. Everyone's super into Black Rose. And
wait, everyone in game or everyone in community? Which one are you talking about? Everyone in the community.
Everyone. There's so many comments about Black Rose, and our stream was like, go do the Black Rose side quest, and we did it. And I was expecting like something amazing, and all it really did was like explain that Black Rose is a thing and it exists. And I was like, cool. I would have been fine if I didn't do that side quest.
Black Rose is deeply Shakespearean in its presentation. It's all happening off screen. It is the threat that time travel stopped. And in an isolated, unbuilt up kind of way, I think it's a fine background plot. But when you draw more attention to it than it perhaps deserves, that's where it feels a little overinflated and underutilized. I think the story proper uses it well. And, you know, we might be eating from the Endwalker Bowl. Like maybe Black Rose is a very important weapon that is used later on. Maybe Zenos does wrestle control, but flies off in his solo tower, and the rest of Garlemald start using Black Rose.
That's fair.
We might be, we're reacting to people saying they hate Zenos without all the information, and we might be reacting to Black Rose, which is a bigger plot point at another time too. So I'm willing to kind of suspend those conversations for now and see what happens.
You're giving away the goose. Don't hype up things that are future important. Don't hype them up. Don't hype them up. At least for me, that's the type of person I am. I have to become interested on my own to want to go back and dig into the smaller, more hidden bits.
Yes, yeah, I'm very much that's a second playthrough kind of thing. That is very much how I would treat any sort of Black Rose heavy investigation.
Anyway, I think it worked. I honestly think I got a strange personal payoff here, because I'm like, Black Rose is overhyped. I don't care. And then Zenos comes out and he's like, you're cowardly weapons. And I'm like, hell yeah. And
to answer your question, which you posed, who's going to win between Shadowhunter and Zenos? I think Zenos lets him live, because Gaius was the honorable type. He wasn't going to let Black Rose be used. Now, maybe, you know, he offers him a position as something that probably doesn't happen. I would see Zenos doing the "you're my messenger" kind of type of thing. Go tell the people.
Yeah, there'll be no offering a position. Zenos isn't sticking around. Zenos is off after this. Someone else is going to walk in the room and be like, what the hell happened? And that'll be it. That'll be it. The legend of Zenos will grow. He's gonna be like the Mad Prince. He's gonna get some type of cool ass title. The legend of Zenos is gonna grow, because either Gaius is gonna be dead, or he will be the messenger, and he's not gonna stick around to explain it to anybody. Maybe he will. Yeah, I'm super into all of this. I love this final scene.
There's a good chance we're going full vampire, like Zenos eating souls on the side, you know, jump in his machine again to keep powering up every time he hears a story about us. I would enjoy that immensely. Yeah.
I love Zenos. I love Zenos, and this is Zenos at its best. He's even a foil of the Damassians, like you said, with Eledibus being like, you have this gift now of essentially immortality, and this is how you're doing it. It's like, yeah, it means nothing to me. Everything is a means to an end.
And there's a beautiful innocence to Gaius in the scene as well, who doesn't believe that's actually Zenos. Like, that must be Eledibus in that body. He must be lying. There's no way the crown prince would act so unjustly in his beloved empire. But there is a line here that is kind of weird. Zenos says,
I heard the Ascians speak of Zodiac and Eidolon. Even the will of this star is but a construct of our own making. We shall gorge upon their strength, and then, my friend, our contest shall begin anew.
Is he going to eat Zodiac? Eidolon? Like, there's a very large whose strength?
Oh, I have a take on that.
Yeah?
I took that as gorging on their strength through battle. So everything that they will throw at their enemies, if you survive it, you will be stronger for it. He keeps talking about how wherever the Warrior of Light is, I hope you're growing stronger, kind of a thing. So it's just like he knows we're somewhere, he hopes we're battling and becoming stronger. So that's how I took it. Maybe there's a more literal, it is Final Fantasy XIV, maybe there's a more literal, find some way to actually sap the power from these deities.
He's got the machine. I guess you could shove an Ascian in there. Be kind of weird.
He's not talking about Azzy. He's straight up name dropping Zodiac and Eidolon. I don't think we're shoving massive hop-on-pop entities into those machines. Maybe we make a giant machine.
Really, the only one left literally standing there is Estinien, who watches the scene happen. I guess is gonna live, right? It'd be weird if he just died here. It'd make no sense.
I would respect the game for the balls it would take to kill Estinien here.
Just off screen, right? Just in some scene.
Oh, no. It can't be off screen. I need a cutscene. Do not No Country for Old Men me. Yeah, coming out of this, my closing thought is like, I liked this because to me it felt like an extension of Stormblood, an expansion that the further I get away from, the more and more I like it. So like, if anything, I would have liked a little more of this. But brevity could be good. Maybe they didn't have a whole lot to say. Maybe the mystery makes me want more. I enjoyed these scenes, and I'm glad we did it this way. It would have been a hard shift to discuss these scenes while talking about Emmett with a gun.
Yes, absolutely. There is still so much to do with Shadowbringers. We got to get everybody back. That now, because we're wonderful at predicting patches and when things are going to happen, that now feels like a 5.3 thing, which then I guess Zenos is Endwalker. Eledibus Zenos is all of Endwalker, because something's going to end, and that's the elephant in the room, is Zenos. If people say Endwalker finishes the saga, I think Paragons of the Source are done, and whatever Zenos is doing is done. But we've also got Eidolon and Zodiac in there. Like, how are all these pieces going to come together to make one ending?
They're pretty good about escalating things at the final hour and making it work and not feel rushed.
True.
Like Shinryu just like, bam, it's here. And it felt great. But by the end of the whole Shinryu bit, I was like, I'm into this. And the same thing happened, honestly, with Emmett at the end. Like, Emmett is a pretty restrained character, extremely dramatic, and absolutely owns every scene he's in, but still just a dude who shows up to taunt us for the most part. Then in short order, he shoots our friend, steals him to torture him, and then turns into a giant monster and tries to kill us in space. But none of it to me felt rushed, and it all felt extremely earned and well-paced at the end there. So I can see it. I can see whatever happens at Endwalker, and at the end, Zodiac and Eidolon show up, and we probably just need to kill them both, because it's a Final Fantasy game, and we need to kill gods.
That's a classic balance thing. Kill Zordon to save the universe. Power Rangers in space. That was a good one. That was a good Power Rangers space.
Yeah, but all I know is I'm continuing to enjoy my first playthrough of this game.